Welcome everyone to One Brothas Mind with KD Smooth. In today's world, black first choices are mandatory. Choose wisely or your bondage will increase. You need all the information. This broadcast begins with my monologue and concludes with our discussion. Together, let's explore the facts, propaganda, lies, and hidden information to uncover the truth we need. Our work begins now. Welcome everyone to One Brothas Mind, coming back at you with a new broadcast this evening. This evening we will discuss, take a look at this issue with our schools, y'all. The teacher shortages. What impact that's having. And what are some potential options and solutions for us, fam, that we could try to use to combat these problems. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to please like, share, and subscribe to One Brothas Mind. And we're going to get started here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you see on your screen, again, we're talking about this evening, the issues with our schools and our teacher shortages that we all are having to deal with. Things not going so well, y'all, to say the least. So we're having to come up with some new plans, some new options. But this story here, reported by NPR, January 14th, says lawmakers are rewriting the rules as schools grapple with teacher shortages. What I wanted to highlight about this article here, you guys, is what many of the schools are doing. They're changing the rules or requirements, and that's what this article is focused on. They're changing the requirements for the teachers, y'all. So let's dig into this. In this article, it states that in Kansas, they've changed or adjusted the rules to the point where they're now open to having teens or teenagers with no or zero college experience take charge of students. Again, they're open in Kansas, they're open to having teens or teenagers with zero college experience take charge of students and classes. Let that sink in, y'all. That's what the Board of Education announced just this past Wednesday in Kansas. Let it sink in. Isn't that daycare? So they announced it lowered these requirements for obtaining emergency substitute teaching licenses. They did it as a last resort. Under this new rule change in Kansas, the substitute applicants won't be required to have completed at least 60 semester credit hours from a regionally accredited college or university, as the original rule was currently in effect. All they need now, y'all, is to have a high school diploma, be at least 18 years old, 18 y'all, pass a background check, have a verified commitment from a district for employment or from a school for employment, and submit a completed application to the state education department. Isn't that daycare, y'all? That's in Kansas. Here's another report in this article from Florida. In Broward County, the adjustment they made was, or what they have going on, let's say that, is that they have students from multiple classes with no teachers, where they're warehousing them together in cafeterias, auditoriums, or gymnasiums. They literally don't have enough teachers, y'all. So they're warehousing them. They're just bunching them together in cafeterias, auditoriums, and gymnasiums. And one teacher reported, a teacher named, get her name, y'all. Randy Watson, Education Commissioner, said that these circumstances, it's impossible to provide any instruction, so students are given their coursework to complete on their own or told to watch a movie. Like I said, isn't that daycare? Here's another report out of Oregon. Oregon's education officials updated their requirements so that candidates must pass a background check and submit to fingerprinting. And the emergency licenses that are obtained in the state will be good for 6 months. This is their temporary fix or attempt to fix y'all. But again, isn't it just daycare? To be clear, just having an adult in every classroom is not the same as having a teacher in every classroom, Watson said. Watson also said that she's going into classrooms where students have never had an assigned credentialed teacher. And they already are starting on the second semester, y'all. In those cases or examples, Watson said she had no idea what the students knew or what they had been working or doing in the class thus far, and was somehow supposed to give them their final grade. That's an impossible situation, Watson said. Isn't this just daycare, y'all? She also said in her final comment in this article from NPR that she thinks it's time to have an honest conversation about what parents want their kids to get from school. Do they really want them to get an education? Because it's not happening. It's not happening. So again, we're going to try to have this little honest conversation here. Because, as I said, isn't this just daycare? This is what they call in-person school today. Y'all, please know, these are just a few examples. This is happening nationwide. This is everywhere. At all your public school systems, all your charter schools, they're going through it, y'all. Teachers have retired early, quitting because of the predator, because of the ooh-wee mandates that recently were just blocked the other day by the Supreme Court. This stuff is happening everywhere. So the reality that we have to, as parents, come to focus on is that most students are not learning in in-person classes. That's the first thing you gotta swallow. Your kid, your child, your student is not learning in in-person classes. I mean, there are some of us have children and students that fit into that very small percentage of students that you can just hand them their assignment and they are self-motivated and focused students, and they tear right into it and learn and study. They enjoy it, etc. But let's be real, y'all. Most of us don't have kids or students like that. In the best case scenario, we may have great students, but they may be cool with, most of their classes or most of their subjects or most of their work from their classes. But there are some classes and some work that they do still need help on, that they struggle with. Where's that help coming from? If not from the teachers anymore. They just got babysitters. 18-year-old babysitters in some places. So, I mean, is that ideal and what we want for our kids, y'all? I mean, how can kids learn if there's no consistency with their teacher? I mean, only consistent teachers can identify where your child needs help in their class. That's the only way you can identify where they're struggling and then offer help. Okay? So here at One Brothas Mind, I'll say this, for the majority of students, as far as actual education, it would appear that the virtual option is better. But those of us that are already using the virtual option, we know it's better, but not by much. But it is better. But there's a whole nother bag of struggle and troubles that come with that. But at least with the virtual option, family, you can help yourself ensure that your kid, your child, is understanding their classwork and assignments, and that you can ensure that they're doing their assignments. Because if they're doing their assignments, with you making sure of that, then at least they're still learning. And if they need help, they at least have you to help them to answer questions that they may have. At least they're getting that, because that's not available in person at school. But there's cost to this virtual option, especially, for just parents in general. Got the whole issue of working and who's working, and both parents are out working and the children are young. They can't be home by themselves doing virtual. They gotta be in person. And if you flip that, or at least one parent stops working or changes their work shift, which is another option if they can. They can be home and actually help our kids with their virtual classes. Don't let that one slide by, y'all. We here at One Brothas Mind, we like to talk about and discuss solutions. So if you have two parents and one parent somehow is able to flip their work schedule to a second or a third shift schedule, with two parents, y'all can make that work so that there's always a parent at home while your kids are in virtual school. You can help them ensure that they're still learning that way. But speaking of solutions, there's a lot more limited options or solutions for single parents. And this is where I wanted to kind of focus on this family. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, please like, share, and subscribe. Share. We're going in on this a little bit. So, like I said, isn't this just daycare? I mean, is that, especially for single parents, is that what's good for your child? I know that's not what you want, but this is what's happening. This is what we got, y'all. For however long, this is what we got. So if your child's education is being harmed or hurt and they're not learning, we have no idea how long this issue is going to last. So here at One Brothas Mind, we like, okay, y'all, we got to start looking at making I can't talk tonight, y'all. The possibility of other choices. One choice for single parents is going virtual. But for most single parents, for their child to go virtual, that means they can't work. And if you can't work, the only options you have remaining is living off of unemployment, various assistance programs that you qualify for because you're not working, and whatever child support you receive. And from that collection of income, in most cases, if you go with the virtual option where you stop working, with your unemployment, the assistance programs, and child support, your income in most cases is going to be significantly less than it was when you were working. And that's the whole reason why you were working your job, and it's really difficult to stop working as an option. So either you work or continue to work and your child's education is in the trash right now. They're not learning, and who knows how long that's going to last. Or you stop working to try to make sure your child is still learning and getting their education, at least the best that they can get, and go virtual. But with that option of stopping working, now you got some new consequences that you have to look deep into. Because if you stop working, like I said, your income in most cases is going to be significantly lower. You know, there are some cases it may actually be higher. It depends on how much your slave wages are on your job. If they're not really all that and they're really slave wages, you actually, if you do some calling and checking with the assistance programs and what you would get for unemployment, you may find out you may be actually your income may be higher not working than it is for you to work. But you gotta do your research. You gotta make them phone calls, y'all. You got to verify all that stuff. Don't just jump out there blindly. Have an idea that if you call the assistance departments where you're at in your area, they'll tell you what you're going to qualify for. There's charts online that will tell you what you would qualify for. So you can start adding up, calculating the calculations, so you can know what you're going to potentially be working with. And then, like I said, once you calculate the calculations, now you can then start to answer the question is, can you still afford to live where you're living if you're not working, or if you stop working? An attempt to try to improve your child's education and learning options. You may find out or discover that you can still continue to live where you're living. You can afford, you may have to pull your belt tight, but you can make it. Okay, great. Outstanding. But for many single parents, they will possibly find out that, nah, my income is cut too much. I won't be able to afford where I'm still living. So then the question becomes, is where you're living more important? Is where and how you're living more important than your child's education and learning? Uh-oh. Or is your child's education and learning worth the sacrifice of where you're living to relocate to live somewhere that you would be able to afford while receiving unemployment assistance from the assistance programs and child support? It really comes down to where your value is, what you feel is most important. Many parents are choosing their job, and like the article said, the kids are just being put in cafeterias and gymnasiums. They're not getting class. They're not getting learning and education. They, in many cases, don't even have credentialed teachers anymore. Or is your child's education and learning more valuable to you, to where you are willing to make those necessary sacrifices, even relocating? You know, the sacrifice of not working, having a lesser income, and then using that income to relocate to a more affordable living location so that you can stay home with your child and ensure that they are learning. Now, many of you may be thinking, well, that's impossible. You can't, if that's the choice, how can you make that choice? It's a choice that one way or another, you're going to make it. If you going to continue to work and your child's education is going to continue to suffer and learning, or you're going to stop working and go have your child go virtual and figure out the rest. It's just that simple. Yeah, those are hard choices to make. But here at One Brothas Mind, we like to think our kids are worth it. Our kids are worth it, y'all. And as a side note, ladies, a lot of single parents or single moms, we love y'all here. We got nothing but love for y'all, but this whole predator situation, if y'all haven't began to figure this out by now, this is one of those situations that help y'all recognize the importance and the value of having a husband, a man, or at the very least, 2 incomes in the household. That's not the only reason or the value of a husband. Trust me. But this whole problem situation here is a whole lot easier to deal with if you have two loving, caring, committed parents at home in this predator situation we dealing with. And one can go out there and make money. You know, as they say, you should say, bring in the bacon, while the other parent stays home and meets the needs of the kids throughout the day. I mean, that's the way it used to be. I mean, for thousands of years. Thousands, y'all. I mean, it's pretty new. This whole idea of both parents working outside the home and the kids in daycare or its legally required school. That's a pretty new concept, a new approach. It's only been going on for about 70, 80 years, since like the 40s and 50s. You know, especially around one time when the women's liberation movement started, and they trickerated a whole lot of women into saying you're better off if you go ahead and get you a job, a little office job somewhere, and start working. Yeah, that means you're great. Wink, wink. And most women just eventually bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, not realizing all the consequences and how that was primarily going to affect not only the children, but your entire household, your marriage, your whole thing, the whole family. Because prior to that, wives and mothers were staying home and they were taking care of the home at the very least. The meals, the education, the daycare themselves for their own children, while the husbands went out and made the money, brought it home. Okay, yeah, there are exceptions, y'all, but we ain't talking about the exceptions. We talking about the majority, the general rule. Even back on, go back further when most people had farms, and that's how they lived. A farm is a business. When you got the husband and wife both working and maintaining the farm, they are working their business together. It's at home though. One person ain't just gone somewhere. So two people at home can handle and manage everything and meet all the needs that are at home, including the kids. The farming and whatnot, and even if people didn't have work farmers, the husband, usually young men, when you go all the way back in history, no matter what type of living or family living structure you had, the husband would come up with or develop some sort of basically side hustle or some sort of hustle, whether he was a blacksmith or a shoemaker or, you name it. Whatever he could do to make money or resources for his family. And usually men would develop that prior to getting married and taking on a wife and family. So then once they were married, if he was a blacksmith, guess what his wife became? She became the assistant blacksmith. That was their business. That's how they attained resources and money eventually to where they were able to provide for themselves and their family. Whatever the husband's skill was that he developed, they did it together. So, like I said, with the whole women's lib movement, trickeration, they got most women out of the house. They changed the outlook and attitude of most ladies to where Nowadays, or eventually, ladies started like, ugh, I don't want to be no housewife. That ain't, y'all fill in the blank. I want to have a briefcase in my hand and wear hard shoes and a nice outfit and go to work every day, go to the office or whatever. That's what I want to do. You know. And one of the main reasons they did that for was to basically extract more taxes. At first they only had men working, so they could only tax the men or husbands' incomes. But if they could trickerate wives and mothers to go out and also work outside the home, then that's 2 incomes. They can collect twice as much tax money. You know, so that's what it used to be until, like I said, around about the 40s, 50s, when that change began to happen. So we here now, y'all. Like I said, a lot of single moms, it's like, this is an impossible situation. I can't make that decision. Oh, but you are. Your actions, one way or the other, is showing what decision you're making. A non-decision is a decision. You working and you like, I don't know what to do, and you just keep working. You've made your decision. You made your choice. Okay. In addition to this, y'all, I mentioned the whole issue of 2 incomes. You know, there's a lot of single mothers out there right now. I mean, it's going through it, y'all. That it would be beneficial for y'all to consider if there's another family member or sibling or a co-worker or another church member that you know is also a single mother. Someone that you know, a lifetime friend, somebody that you feel like you might be comfortable enough with, that may be respectful enough to you, and y'all have enough living similarities to where it might work. You need to try to sit down with them and have a conversation about whether or not y'all can become roommates. You and your kids move in with her and her kids move in with you, whoever's got the bigger or larger living space, or even relocating to a new living location that's large enough to hold your families. Y'all can be roommates and actually significantly reduce your living expenses if you're not going to be working. Right? That's a legitimate option, y'all. But of course, that has its little things. First is, would y'all be able to comfortably live together, get along, communicate? Then there's the whole issue of whether or not, if you are on various assistance programs and receiving those, would you be able to continue to receive those while relocating as a roommate and becoming a roommate? It's easy to find out, y'all. Just all we gotta do is make those phone calls to those assistance programs. Start asking questions. You ain't gotta tell them all your business. You can do that basically anonymously. Just pick up the phone and ask the question. If I'm receiving this assistance or that assistance, would it be cut if I relocate and move into a shared living situation? Or how would that work? Just asking questions. It's worth in many cases, it's worth making those phone calls. Hell, a lot of times you can just go online to the different assistance programs websites. And you can calculate, you can see specifically based on your family size, how much assistance you would qualify for. You start adding those amounts up so you can have an idea. Okay, if I stop working, this is how much assistance I would qualify for. This is how much unemployment I would potentially get. And this is how much child support I'm getting. So let me total this up. All right, this is what I'm pretty much going to be looking at. Now, you can then begin to try to make some decisions on how you want to, which way you want to go. I mean, that is if you've made the decision that your child or children's education and learning is at this time the most valuable thing, and you're willing and ready to make that sacrifice. Again, y'all, we talking about solutions here at One Brothas Mind. We try to talk about solutions. So let's look at some other options. Of course, there's the homeschooling option. Okay. But that basically comes with the, same issues that not working, because you usually can't work and do homeschool. Especially if you have young kids, is they can't stay home by themselves. But there's other options out there, y'all. You just got to open your mind and find new alternative options or schools. I'm going to list a couple. Just throw out a couple. A lot of us live in large cities and large city areas where the Nation of Islam in a lot of places actually have schools in your area. Or there's Moorish temples that also have schools in your area. You got to start asking around, making some phone calls. At least look into the option. And some of y'all are thinking, I know, y'all should be like, oh man, trying to have to, the minister this and the brother, nah. Plus, they gonna want you to convert to their beliefs, and all that too. I ain't trying to do all that, but do you know that for sure? I suspect in many cases they don't require that. But because you ain't made those phone calls, you ain't stopped and knocked on their door of the mosque or temple, you just speculate. Don't sit back and just do that, y'all. Find out. And then there's going to be some of the rest of y'all that's going to say, well, I don't know if I want my kids, I'm teaching, their beliefs and different things to my kids. But somehow you're okay with the lies that the public white supremacist schools are teaching to your children. Uh-oh. You cool with that. But you got a problem or issue with black people teaching your black child about black people. Teaching them way more information and history about black people here in America than what the white supremacist schools are lying and teaching about. Better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Which do you think is best? Think about it. Find out. Make some phone calls, y'all. And in a lot of those situations, in the areas where the Nation of Islam may have schools, or it may be Moorish temples that have schools, a lot of times those schools and class sizes are going to be smaller. So if you actually enroll your children in their schools, they're going to get more one-on-one teacher focus and instruction and help. Uh-oh. I mean, yeah, I know for older kids that are like late middle school and high school, the details start to get a lot grayer because those schools may not have the opportunities of different classes and different things as many as the regular public school in your area or charter school in your area. So it starts to get a little bit more hairy. But if you have young children, elementary, early middle school, the focus is just the basic information, y'all. Plus, they will get the added extra B1, Black First information in history. Okay, so isn't that worth a phone call or two? Stopping by the mosque in your area or temple and knocking on the door and asking some questions? They love to sit down and answer your questions, y'all. If many more of our children in dealing with this predator situation end up moving to schools like that, do you think they would be actually physically safer? Uh-oh. But again, hard choices. You're gonna make them one way or the other. Not making a choice, you're making a choice. So then again, there's some more y'all family out there going, well, this whole predator thing that we've been dealing with and all of this craziness, it's just temporary. It's gonna end. Yeah, but you nor I, nobody knows how long this stuff is gonna go on. And let's just look at the best case scenario. We're still in the middle of the surge everywhere. Everything is insane, right? But let's say in a month's time, the surge just, fell off. Like many of the mainstream is trying to report and don't know what's going to happen. But let's say it did. It does. The surge drops off. All the numbers fall way down. Woo, woo, woo. They fall, let's say they fall low enough for everybody to feel comfortable enough to go back out, get back out, and try to begin to, if you will, return to normal. Let's say that happens. Great. I hope that happens. But there's no guarantee. Actually, there's more of a guarantee that there's going to be other new variants, y'all. They're going to come. This is a Pandora's box thing. It's been open. This whole predator thing, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, here at One Brothas Mind, we call the predator. We don't use the other names for it because y'all know how YouTube is. We call it the predator. It ain't going nowhere. It may go away or minimize for a while, but there's very strong possibility it's going to come back like part 2 or part 3 of a movie, come back even stronger. Then we right back into this same problem. So let's even just look at the temporary option. If, say, for example, some of y'all temporarily move your children to another alternative school option, whether it's virtual, homeschooling, schools with the Nation of Islam or Moorish temples or some other better school option that you can find for your child. And let's say it's just temporary to get them through this year to ensure that they are continuing learning and developing their education. And then say the predator, like I said, all the numbers go all down and everything's okay. They real low. It's no more issue. And we all able to try to get back to normal. Okay. Well then, all you got to do the following school year, next fall, is just re-enroll your children back into the school that they originally was at. And all you've done is, through an alternate option, did all you could to ensure that your child education continues, they continue to learn and grow and develop in the midst and during this whole predator situation, while the public school systems are jacked up, don't have enough teachers, and they're not learning. Then, like I said, you can just you ride that out. Your child's learning is been solidified again, and you continue to move on. And then you reassess everything for the fall semester that's upcoming. Do you want your child to remain at the school the alternate option, school option you chose, or do you want to re-enroll them back into the alternative school option and continue that? Isn't our kids' education working? I mean, y'all let me know, y'all. Y'all let me know. Let me know what y'all think. Let's chop it up in the comments. I want to hear from y'all. What do y'all think? Hopefully, I've offered some potential alternate solution options to some that they can look into. Maybe some options you didn't consider before. There's always other options, y'all. You may not know about them. You may not like them so much or prefer them, but you may discover they may be way better than your current option. And again, like I said, isn't our children worth it? All right, y'all. Let's chop it up. Let me know in the comments. I see y'all in the comments. See what we can do about these problems, y'all. We got to do something. These are our babies. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you remember to do what you can do when you can do what you can do. And know that Yeshua the Christ is with you always. This concludes this One Brothas Mind broadcast. And I'm Katie Smooth. Shalom, y'all.